Hi guys, Sky News likes to have guests on to discuss current topics and stuff that will appear in the next day's newspapers. This in itself isn't a bad thing. You can have wonderful guests like Gemma Forte or Marina Purkis on, but you can also have terrible ones like Don Neesom. So the panel here was discussing the early release of some prisoners as a result of overcrowding. This is because of a lack of investment by the Conservatives over the last 14 years. The new Labour government have said that they are forced to let people out early to free up space for new criminals. Dawn criticised this, but in the weirdest way possible. Have a listen.
As she has said, she's reflecting what some police officers have said as well, that if people feel that can't even be detained in police cells because they're being used for prisoners, then they may be tempted to commit crimes.
Yeah, I mean, Labour are in that rather fortunate political position at the moment where they've only been in power for a week, so they can blame all the problems on the last lot. So they can say, this is terrible, this is awful. And it's the type of thing, the policy of releasing prisoners early, on the face of it, should be a disaster for a government. But at the moment, as I say, they can say, well, it's not us. But that doesn't last for very long. So this will get them over the little hump at the moment until there's more prison spaces. But what they need to do now, and it's on them, is to come up with a strategy to make sure this doesn't happen again. And what is the long-term solution? Because you can't just keep every year or year and a half just releasing loads of folk early to free up space. There has to be a long-term solution.
Funny enough, I don't remember being this part of the manifesto either, do you?
Well, again,
it wasn't really mentioned in the run-up to the election.
Strangely.
Although they say they didn't.
Oh my goodness. What's wrong with these people? Part of the manifesto. As far as I believe, Labour did mention that they may have to release prisoners early in the run-up to the election. It was a few days before, I believe, or a week before, but I do believe they mentioned it. But either way, you can't put everything into the manifesto, especially things that are about firefighting, undoing some of the damage that the Conservatives have inflicted upon the economy or upon society. It wasn't in the manifesto. If you put everything in the manifesto, it will be thousands of pages long, including things that you are trying to undo. Now, what is this all about? Well, of course, the Conservatives have not invested enough in prisons. They have not built enough prisons. They have not hired enough prison officers. They have not paid the current prison officers enough to keep doing their job. And you have a situation where you have prisons that are overcrowded. Some are at 99% capacity. So the logical approach, of course, is to release non-violent criminals back into society to free up space for new ones. What's the alternative? The alternative is not to put people in prison. Would people like Dawn here and the Conservatives be happy with that? They say, well, we're not actually going to put people in prison. Because if there are no prison places, then judges can't send people to prison. Where do they send them? Some people are being held in police cells, but there's a limited amount of space there, and the police already are overloaded with other issues to resolve. Now they have to become prison officers as well, and wardens. This is ridiculous. So the logical approach is to release people who are not a threat to society, free up space in the short term, and then build more prisons. Now the problem, of course, as I keep saying, is as soon as Labour say what we're going to do is build more prisons, the Conservatives and their supporters in the media will attack this. Why are you wasting public money on prisons? What about poor people? What about the NHS? So, of course, they're going to attack something that's unpopular. Let's call a spade here, because building prisons is not popular with the public. People don't like to see money being spent on prisons. People don't want to see prisons, appearing in their area. That's another big problem. And of course, people don't want to see prisoners treated like human beings, receiving rehabilitation, which is, of course, important. Now, the good news is that the new minister for all of this is somebody who actually understands the benefit of rehabilitation and treating prisoners with respect. Because if we treat them with respect, if we treat them like human beings, they're less likely to return to society and create more problems. There was a case I covered on the live stream recently where somebody was released early before they were supposed to be released. They didn't have any housing. They didn't have any support. They got involved in crime again to get put back into prison, and now they're back in prison. A huge cost there. The cost of housing the person in the first place, and then the cost of supporting them in prison. And they've, of course, taken up a space that could have been available for somebody else. The Conservatives have made an absolute disaster. Yes, we understand that the Labour Party, the new Labour government, can't continue to hark back to, well, the Conservatives left us with a disaster. Yes, they can do that for the short term. They can't do it in the long term. They have to create new prisons. They have to create new positions in the prison service. They have to fix things. And they have to show that they're fixing things. But some of these decisions will be difficult. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.